Hi, I'm Benton Stokes,
And I'm Elane O'Rourke.
and this is Cocktail Theology. Hello,
Hi there.
how are you?
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you.
Okay,
It's a funky time.
it's a funky time.
We are in the midst of moving,
We are.
and we're also working, and we're also doing this, and we have a new class starting,
We do.
and we have the Bible study going, and we have worship going on Sundays.
We do.
And then I have a teenager, which
Yes.
means you have a teenager sometimes. So there's all this stuff going on.
Yeah, lots going on.
There's a lot going on. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to tell our listeners, and they can just shut off right now if they don't want to hear more, that I've been really anxious.
Yeah.
It's been really challenging. And what I've noticed is that, well, probably we should go to cocktails for a minute, and then I'll tell you more.
Okay. Well, what is this delicious thing I'm drinking? Because you made me this. I walked in the door and you just kind of handed it to me, and it's delicious. So tell me what it is.
All right, so it's fresh pineapple and rum that's been blended together. And then it's got basil syrup. And then I added Jarritos pineapple soda to it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's reminding me of a Dole Whip.
Yes.
Giving me that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has that Dole Whip character. Yeah.
It's yummy. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
I love it.
So here's what's been going on for me. And I think that some of our listeners will relate, which is why I'm bringing it up. Okay? One of my go-to ways of not handling stress
Yeah.
is anxiety eating. Okay?
Sure.
And I've been watching my mind deal with this.
Okay.
And notice the way I'm phrasing it. I've been watching my mind deal with this. And my mind is both saying, okay, this is not good for you. In fact, you don't feel all that great when you do this.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's saying to me, you know what? The worrying about this at this moment just adds more stress to you
Yes.
rather than actually helping.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to strike this balance between what I know is physically good for me and what is in fact, I don't know what else to say is good for me, but it's good for me. And the fact that right now I just need to keep moving. Like that's really all I can do.
Right.
Which has me in mind of the class we're about to do.
Yeah.
For our listeners who don't know, the class that we're about to lead is called The Various Parts of a Miraculous You.
Yes.
And it encounters the 6 parts of the human person. And those are basically mind, body, spirit, soul, your environment, which means everything, including your history, and your will. That is what you choose, your chooser. So all of those work together or don't work together to create who you are.
Yeah.
Okay? So what I'm really experiencing right now is the massive conflict those are all in.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So my environment is sort of chaotic because we're in this move and we've got a lot of stuff going on. My body, which is in the habit of doing specific things, is doing habitual things that are not great for it.
Yeah.
My mind, when it's reflecting and it can separate from the body's habits, it knows that actually it would be better for me to do some things, but it's also distracted by the stuff that's going on in my environment.
Right.
Right? My soul is constantly reaching out to God, but there's all this stuff that's in the way. And so it kind of gets, it goes, ooh, shiny, right? And goes off and attaches to other things. So
Right.
it attaches to food, or it attaches to a beverage, or it attaches to whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then my will, which we think of as being really strong, right? We think of the ability to choose and direct ourselves as being the strongest part of us. It is the weakest part of us.
It is. It
Our
really is.
wills are incredibly weak. So my will's just going, woo, I'm along for the ride. Just take me where you need me to go. So I'm really conscious of the fact that being a human being is a complicated thing.
It certainly is.
And we tend to beat ourselves up if any one part seems to be leading, other than our will. If our will's leading and we know it's leading, we feel very proud of ourselves. This is the Elon Musk thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? So there's all of that. And then you add in the societal stuff. So if you're female, I'll just speak from a woman's point of view for a minute. It's all about whether you have control over your body, whether you look a particular way, whether you fit in particular clothes, all of those things. And for me, and I'm being just really honest with our listeners right now. For me, there's also the idea that if I am carrying too much weight, I should be ashamed. Or if I'm not getting enough exercise, I should be ashamed. Or, whatever. There's this huge shame complex around it, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things are working together right at this moment.
Yeah.
And because we're about to do this class, I'm going, whoa, look at that.
Right. Yeah, that's so much. And we are so complicated. We are such complicated creatures. And the 6 parts of us, it is so difficult to get them in balance and then to keep them in balance.
That's right.
We did an episode last season about New Year's resolutions. And I think about that anytime that we start talking about the will, because that's what New Year's resolutions are.
That's right.
We make them based solely on will. And we think we're going to be able to stick to them when the will is the weakest of the 6.
Right.
Because in order for the will to work, you have to train other parts to go along.
That's right.
And so it takes effort, it takes work. It's like all the things that we talk about in terms of spiritual practice and spiritual discipline. It's not enough to will that I'm going to get up every 4 hours around the clock and pray.
That's right.
Sure you are. Right. You do that and let me know how it goes. Because that's not, the will doesn't do that. Mm-mm. The will is like the last part. You have to do all this other stuff before you're ready to make the decision.
Yes.
To commit to something like that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so what's happening for me right now is that I'm, because I'm me, I'm looking at all of this and going, well, isn't that interesting? Right? At the same time. So there's another piece that's happening. But it makes me very conscious. And I think I've mentioned this before, that so here's the word that comes up. I've been slacking, which is a shame word, right? But I have not had a consistent rhythm of spiritual practices that I have been following. And part of that has been various other kinds of anxiety that have been just lying there, bubbling and tearing everything apart. But what's happening is right now I'm going, oh, right. That's why that's so important. Because I wasn't in the habit of doing those things. Now my soul and my mind are trying to grab them, but there's nothing to grab onto.
Right.
And so since there's nothing to grab onto, there's part of me that's saying, dang it, I need to implement all these things right now, which is exactly wrong.
Because none of us can do that.
And frankly, in those times when I've been able to do that, it has meant that something else was radically wrong.
Sure.
Like eating disorders were really coming up. And so I was able to do the other things because that was my sense of control, right? So I could exercise for long hours at a time because all this other stuff was messed up. So the key for me, at least at this point, is trying to be curious and gentle.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring all of this up, besides the fact that the 6 aspects of us are so interesting, is to encourage our listeners when they go through periods like this to be curious and gentle with themselves.
Right. That is huge because we do go to shame and we go to whatever that shame that's inbred in us is. Like if it's weight or if it's sexuality or whatever it is. Achievement. Right. Achievement. Or being smart or whatever. We go to that place. And the thing is that we always deal with whatever that is.
Right.
We can make tremendous strides and we can overcome a lot. But when we're at our weakest, those are the little demons that come up.
Yes. And weak here doesn't mean bad.
No.
But I mean, I want to again lift that up, right? Because there is this sense particularly in evangelical Christianity, that if you're weak, either that's wonderful because then you'll lean on God, or it's incredibly sinful.
Yes.
Instead, it means, I think weakness in this sense means there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
And there are things that have to go by the wayside.
Right.
A certain amount of health, a certain amount of balance, I hate that word, but balance is about figuring out which things you're going to let go of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, even if it's just short term. It doesn't mean that you're letting go of them forever.
No.
But in the midst of everything that's going on right now, for instance, in our house with the move and everything, we have to prioritize certain things, and other things will just have to wait.
That's right.
That's
right.
So I think for our listeners, if you find yourself in a place where you're feeling stressed because of all the things, it's self-help 101 to talk about prioritizing your needs or whatever, but you really have to. You have to think about, what can I accomplish? What's realistic? You can push yourself to a point, and you can stretch yourself to a point, but you still, at the end of the day, you have to sleep, you have to eat. Or then you're going to really start to pay a toll. And then that's when we're talking about being at your weakest, because you're not tending to your own personal needs.
That's right.
And nobody is strong under those kinds of circumstances.
Right. And it's interesting, and I don't disagree with you, but it is interesting. I'm trying to be curious, right? It's interesting that you went to the physical things we need to do, like sleeping and eating. I think that's really important. So if we can kind of, I'm going to bring in Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, do it,
right?
Yeah, do it.
Right? So for those of you who aren't familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's this idea that this guy named Maslow came up with, and it's, imagine a pyramid, and the bottom level of it is the stuff that is pure survival. That's it. Just survival. Nothing else. No joy, no nothing, just surviving. Eating and sleeping are in that base. You cannot survive.
Right.
And in some ways, we are truly animal creatures, right? There are things that we have to do in order to simply get through the next day. So when we're at our most stressed, then those things are the things we have to focus on. Now, the problem is with this, now we can set aside Maslow for a minute. The problem with this is if our minds are going, whoa, boo, 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 then eating and sleeping become really hard.
They do.
So what do we do as a practical method of calming our minds so that we can eat and sleep properly? And eat properly here just means doing it.
Yeah, just doing it.
Right, just doing it. We have to then say, okay, breathe, deep breathing. I need to be able to eat and sleep. What do I need to do with my mind in order to do that? And then it may be something that your will can actually help with here. Grab a piece of paper and a pen and start writing down all the things you need to do tomorrow so you don't have to think about them.
Right.
Right? This is where each of the parts of us can really help the others out.
Definitely.
Right? If we don't get trapped in that spiral of shame or the spiral of anger, like for a lot of people, they don't feel shame, they feel angry.
Yes.
It's all coming from the same place, that same weakness place, but that's the way they feel. So then if you can keep engaging the curiosity and the gentleness with yourself, you can go, oh, I'm really feeling angry right now. What can I do to take care of that? Just take care of that so it can soften, so I can do the other things, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that all those parts of us can interact. Thinking about environment for a minute. So our environment includes both our actual physical environment, but also our history, our culture, all of those things, all the things that we have no control over that come in. One of the things that we can do, that I can do, that is really helpful for me in sort of softening the way I'm experiencing my environment is taking a bath. For me, that makes my environment just go.
Yeah, right,
quiet.
right.
My mind quiets down. I lighted a candle earlier. Again, changing the physical parts of my environment to allow the rest of it to soften.
Absolutely.
Those are the kinds of things that we can do that don't actually create balance, but they do soften all of the stuff.
Yeah.
That's all at once. So you've got a little room to sort of navigate how you're feeling and what your body needs and what your mind needs and, all those other things.
Yeah. No, the environment thing is so important. I know when I'm trying to be creative, I have to have certain things. Like I can't be creative in clutter. Lighting a candle is usually something that I do too if I'm really trying to write or get into a zone where I'm creating something. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy with what I come up with because there's already a level of edgy for me.
Yes.
And so that automatically raises the bar on what I'm working on. And so I'm going to be more critical of what I'm creating because I just don't like where I am and what's going on. And the environment then changes the way my mind is functioning. It changes the way my spirit feels. It changes what I'm putting down on paper. All of it changes because my environment is what it is. And people don't realize what an important role environment plays as one of our 6 parts.
Yes.
Because you assume the environment is something that you don't have any control over. And yes, there are parts of our environment that we don't. But some things we can.
That's right.
And certainly the way we frame our environment, which of course is going to be more of a function of the mind, but the way that we frame where we come from, or who we are today or who we were 10 years ago, the way we frame that is so important.
Exactly. The lens through which we view this stuff, which takes effort, it takes an act of our minds and takes our will, it takes all those things. But the way we think about it matters. So if part of your environment, meaning your history and everything, includes trauma, and when I'm talking about trauma here, I'm talking about sustained damage to your reactive system, that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
If your history includes trauma, part of what's happening is that your body and your mind have worked very hard at protecting the deepest parts of you from damage. Now, that doesn't mean they weren't damaged, but you're in this mode of self-protection in some ways that may have really served you, but may not anymore.
Right.
So if that's the kind of environment stuff you're dealing with, you can't change what happened.
Right.
And cleaning up or lighting a candle may not help. But acknowledging that that's part of your history and space, and granting yourself some grace for that, and saying, okay, this is what I can do today. Tomorrow, I'm going to try and do 0.5% more. Or 0.5% differently. Right? And for some people, like right now, you guys can't see, but we're recording is a mess. And it's like I can't look at it because it just stresses me out.
Right.
But again, it's that we're in the middle of packing. We're in the middle of moving. Okay. So that means I may not be creative. That's okay. My goal right now is like just above the eating and sleeping thing, right? It includes packing things and not forgetting where my kid is, right?
Right.
But it's that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's that stuff. Listeners, we would love to hear from you. We always love to hear from you. Have you guys studied the what is it,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Have you guys studied that? I know that I became more familiar with it when we did this course the first time a while ago now. But it's definitely interesting, and when you start looking at all the things that make you you, it's kind of astonishing. And this course that we're about to start, and if you're interested in this course and the material or any of our courses, you can find those at wearesfssamfoxsam.com. Because otherwise it just says like FFF or SSS. So I have to... You can find stuff there. You can also find stuff at cocktailtheology.com, and that's where we love to hear from you, your suggestions for episodes and drinks and such. But we are in the middle of a move. We will continue to turn out episodes, however, in the midst of our crazy summer, and we do hope that you guys are having a great summer. We are too, and we look forward every Thursday to turning out new episodes. Please do reach out. Cocktailtheology.com is where we are. And join us again next time.
I need to pack some boxes.
You go do that.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.